Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mama Wears Athleisure. I am your host, Mariela de Santiago, a first-time mom. We focus on all things mom with tips to help make life easier and more organized for all you mamas out there. Hi, everyone. Today I'm here with Monica Frydach from Moving Like a Mother, and we're going to talk a little bit about C-section care and recovery and what that looks like.
Thank you so much for having me today. Like you said, my name is Monica. I am a pelvic floor physical therapist. I have been in practice for about 10, going on 11 years now. My background is I did orthopedics for a long time. And then when I got pregnant with my first child, I really just became passionate about the pregnant population, which drove me to just dive deeper into the pelvic health area and women's health. And I just truly feel like I found my passion there. I was practicing within a hospital setting for a while, like an outpatient hospital. And then actually in early 2022, I opened my own practice called Moving Like a Mother, Physical Therapy and Wellness. And I get the opportunity to work with women from honestly all walks of life, all different age ranges. So anywhere from preconception to postmenopausal, but definitely a lot of pregnancy and postpartum. I just really, really enjoy that population. Yeah, it's so much fun. I have 3 kids myself, so I can really relate to these mamas. And it's so great being able to help them learn about their bodies and take care of them.
I love the name of your business, Moving Like a Mother. It just screams so much like strength and power.
Oh, thank you.
And I also follow you on Instagram and I see all of the things that you do. So the fact that you can balance it all is really inspirational and awesome to see that you run your own business. You have 3 kids and you're able to squeeze in all of this running, which if I remember correctly, you just did a marathon?
A half marathon.
A half marathon.
Thank you so much.
While your kids were there in the playroom. So it's so nice to be like, oh my gosh, this is like reality and we all do this. And it's okay to have a messy house while you're able to focus on yourself and the kids can see that mom is doing what she likes.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. It's not always easy. Again, I was just telling a friend this, social media, right? You get to always see the good days and the good things, but I feel so lucky that I'm able to do the things I enjoy, which like running and exercising and have my business and also have my 3 kids. So I feel lucky that I'm able to kind of fit all that in.
I did want to pick your brain on all of this. So just to kind of start off, what is a C-section? I myself had one. Some have them planned. Some don't realize that they're going to have one until, you're told, hey, this is the route we have to take.
A C-section is the short name for a cesarean section. And it is the surgery that occurs when you don't have a vaginal delivery. Like you mentioned, it can be either planned or unplanned, but it's a way to get baby out in a safe way, so to speak. If maybe the vaginal delivery isn't going as planned, or maybe there's some health risks to the mother. It's actually fairly prevalent right now. They say 1/3 of births are born via cesarean delivery in the US. Yeah.
That's a pretty big number.
It is big. It's actually on the rise. And there's a lot of differing opinions about why that is. So, I will leave those answers to Google, but there's a lot of different things out there. So I think what is unfortunate is that there's not a ton of education given to women beforehand. I think we all hope for this great birth experience. And sometimes we have in the back of our minds that, we might need a cesarean or a C-section, but we don't maybe really think it will happen. And it's often not something that we're maybe preparing for unless, of course, it is a planned C-section. But even then, I think there is a big gap in the information that is provided to women beforehand about how they can prepare for a C-section and maybe then what they should be doing after a C-section. So that is definitely an area that I'm passionate about, spreading more education and just awareness, because it is a major surgery. And I think because it's so common, we've kind of forget that it's a major surgery.
So true. For me, as a working mom at the time, you look at what your maternity leave is going to look like. And if you have a vaginal birth, you're given 6 weeks. I'm in California, that's what it is here. If you have a cesarean section, then you're given 8 weeks. Why is the recovery longer than it is for a vaginal birth? And I know that you mentioned this already in that it is a major surgery. So I never thought about this until after it happened to me, but it's like, oh my gosh, my body is literally getting cut into.
Yes. Yes. So it's 7 layers that they cut through. And what's unique about a surgery or an incision, right? That's, we'll say, made by a human, right? Is the tissues heal a little bit different. So it sometimes takes a little bit longer. And again, those 7 layers that all kind of need to heal up, it takes time. And that is the biggest reason for the longer time allotted for that recovery. It depends to your outcome for a vaginal delivery, right? Some women go and have a vaginal delivery and have no problems. There are different degrees of tearing that can occur also with a vaginal delivery. And sometimes those women, for the same reasons, actually need a little bit of a longer recovery. It's all about the healing process. So it takes tissue a while to heal and our muscles to kind of generate and get a little stronger so that we can safely do the things that we have to do day to day. But it's kind of the overarching reason why there's a little bit more time given to women who underwent a C-section.
Definitely mentioned how we don't have that education to know how we should care for our recovery. I know for me, I was fortunate to have some help, but I still wanted to do it all because I didn't know what limitations I was going to have. Not having had a baby prior, I didn't really have limitations. I could just keep pushing my body. And now it was like, you have to listen to your body. I had to have my husband push me out of the bed. He would try to pull me up. I'm like, no, because then I'm using my core muscles. I need you to push me from the back, like literally just both hands.
Yeah. And you bring up such a good examples. The log roll technique is something I feel like every woman should be taught, definitely in the hospital, if not beforehand. What that is instead of trying to like sit up, you roll to your side and then kind of as a unit, you push with your arm and you kind of swing your legs over the edge of the bed and you sit up together. By doing that little technique, it's so much better for your body to heal. You're not straining your muscles. You're not straining your C-section, and even using a pillow to kind of brace. And these are things sometimes your nurse will help you with or teach you about. But again, it's so interesting because if you go into a different area of the hospital where maybe people are undergoing other types of surgery, physical therapy is always consulted to go over these things. And it's just so odd that it's not a standard of care for women who've had C-sections that physical therapy is consulted either before or after. It's very different.
I will say that I didn't know anything about having a PT even while pregnant. Like now I've learned about all of these benefits, but you just aren't exposed to all of this. And it's really unfortunate, but yes, about how a physical therapist can help you throughout your pregnancy to help prepare you for the delivery or postpartum, regardless of the form of delivery. So
yes, I know. And I think what you're doing here with your podcast is so great because it's just, we need to spread more knowledge. And I think knowledge is power. And the more you know, and I do spend a lot of time with my pregnant patients. We do almost like a labor and delivery prep session. And we really just talk through the things that they can expect during labor and how they can make the most of their birthing experience. And I do talk to them and I say, okay, if the vaginal delivery does not go as planned and you undergo a C-section, these are the things that I want you to do immediately in the hospital and postpartum. I think there are some providers out there that are really good about recommending physical therapy either during pregnancy or in the postpartum period. But there's some providers who just honestly, they don't even know that what we do as pelvic floor therapists and as as kind of the experts in the musculoskeletal system during pregnancy and postpartum. So I think, again, it just knowledge is power. And the more you know, the better.
It is so true. Well, that actually brings me to my next question. How should an individual care for their incision? Like, what's going to help them with ensuring that it heals properly? Bring this up because I remember one of my best friends was like, oh, yeah, I still don't have feeling in that area.
No.
And my son is now a year old, but it's very sensitive. So I don't think that should be normal.
Right. No, that definitely not normal. This is why I always say common, but not normal, right? There are so many things that can be done. In the immediate healing phase, ice is good, rest is good, early mobility, key, trying to kind of get up, walk around, move around. And then as you start progressing and moving out further away from your surgery around weeks 4, we'll say it's really helpful to start gently moving the tissue outside around the C-section, right? So you're not right on the C-section scar itself, incision, but you're moving the tissue around it. And the reason for this is because when tissue heals, it doesn't always heal in this like nice, smooth pattern, right? It kind of can get knotted or locked down. It can cause tightness or restriction. And there's also nerve endings that kind of travel through and come up to different layers of our skin. And those nerves actually need to regenerate and heal as well. So doing things like gently moving the tissue around so you can maybe like pull up a little bit. And again, you're not on the incision itself at this point. Pull down a little bit, or taking different fabrics and gently rubbing again around the C-section. So maybe like a really soft blanket or a washcloth or a cotton ball. And what this does is it helps kind of facilitate healing of those nerves so that they get that sensation back and that feeling. And so as you continue to move further and further out, so around 12 weeks is when they usually say, okay, you can kind of actually get on that scar. And we really want to mobilize that scar tissue. So if we're going back to thinking about those 7 layers that you cut through, we want all of those layers to be able to move and glide over each other. But in the surgery, a lot of times they kind of get locked down. So that one layer is maybe kind of has some myofascial adhesions or restrictions into the other layers. Sometimes women will complain of like a puckering or like feeling like their C-section, like the skin kind of hangs over the top of it, or they get maybe some swelling up there. Moving those tissues around is what can really help. So it's all about C-section scar massage. And this is something that can actually be done a year or 2 years or 3 years down the road. It doesn't have to be like, oh, well, I had my C-section months ago or a year ago. It's too late for me. Our tissue is constantly remodeling and can always be changed.
Thanks for mentioning that, because that was going to be my next question about, what can you do if it's already been over a year or 2 years? So you answered that.
I mean, there's all different things someone can do, on their own. And if you have access to a pelvic floor PT in your area, there's massage techniques and different things, again, that can be done to really get that tissue moving. And another thing I actually didn't bring up that it can be helpful is deep breathing down into your belly, and almost imagining, I say, breathing into like your belly and your pelvic floor helps to get those tissues moving as well. So if someone is in the earlier stages after having a C-section, the number one exercise I always recommend is some deep diaphragmatic belly breathing.
I'm really glad that you did also mention that just kind of moving around does help, because I feel like I kind of would get some feedback more from older generations that, oh, you need a rest, you need to sit back. And that's just not me. I needed to go for a walk. And I don't care if I was moving as slow as a snail. I just needed to like move, because it really did make me feel like that whole scar area was feeling better in general. So with that, what are some other things that somebody that did have a C-section can do the initial first 8 weeks to ensure that they are healing properly and going towards that recovery? And it's very minimal steps, but something that they can do.
Yeah, I totally hear you. And I feel the exact same way. If someone tells me like stay sitting or like lay in bed all day, I cannot. Like that sounds awful to me. And I think that is something that is having the C-section can really impact us, obviously physically, but mentally too, because women aren't able to get up and move around or maybe pick up their kids or do things that they normally would be wanting to do. Things that you can do would be definitely going for walks, early mobility. And then as you start feeling better and energy starts coming back, even in those early weeks, getting outside and going for a walk, that's amazing and great for your body. Obviously, you don't want to like push yourself and be huffing and puffing, but just kind of, move and getting your muscles working.
And get that blood flowing. It always feels so much better.
Yes. So that's a great thing to do. There's some stretching you can do, laying on your back or laying on your bed and rocking your knees gently side to side. Or I'm a really big fan of a stretch. It's called open book stretch. And you lay on your side and you kind of twist your upper half and you open your chest up like you're opening a book, and it just feels so good. And it's actually really good for your abdomen and your tissues and your back, right? Back pain is something that a lot of women complain of after having a baby because everything is different and changed. So that's a great way to kind of move your body and stretch your body, connecting to your breath. I kind of talked about that. Deep breathing is great. As women get more in that 4 to 6 week window, you can start maybe thinking about bracing your core, starting to reconnect to those deep abdominal muscles, gentle kind of want to say body weight strengthening, which I think too, sometimes when we say exercise, people picture like, oh, I got to lift my weights and do all this crazy stuff. But like exercise can also be just gentle movement and using your body weight, moving your body weight in different ways. So like bridges and different things like that. So
a lot of like yoga type of movements or even restorative yoga.
Yep, exactly. And it's so great because it builds that brain to muscle connection, and which actually helps muscles get stronger again and helps you in your postpartum recovery.
Finally, my last question. Do you have any other tips, suggestions, or recommendations for anyone that is either possibly going to have a C-section or ended up having a C-section?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, I think my biggest recommendation would be to work with a pelvic floor physical therapist. You can find one in your area by going to pelvicrehab.com and you just type in your area code and any registered therapist will pop up. You can also talk to your provider and see if they have someone they recommend. I'm really big on advocating for yourself. Unfortunately, like we talked about earlier, some providers
we have to.
Yes, we do. And it's okay to just be like, hey, I heard that I should maybe see a pelvic floor therapist. Can you recommend someone or write me an order? I mean, you actually don't need a doctor order to go see a physical therapist, but it just kind of streamlines it if you're someone who goes through the hospital systems. That would be my biggest recommendation. Really educate yourself, find some resources that you trust. That's the best thing you can do, is really to kind of gain more knowledge.
So true, because there's so much information that we're not given. We're kind of given a brief 5 minutes. Here's what you don't do. Okay, goodbye. Figure out how to take care of yourself and keep this little human alive.
Like here's your 10-pound baby. By the way, you have a 10-pound lifting restriction. Bye.
And good luck getting sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking all this time to help us and just share, what we can do, because like I said, it's not talked about. So it is something that I feel like we need to bring to light as moms.
Yes. No, I'm so happy to be able to spread more awareness around this topic and just help any mothers or mothers to be out there.
Thank you for listening. Tune in next week for our next episode. You can find us on Instagram for more updates and tips. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts and give us a review if you like us.